Greetings and welcome. I want to thank you for joining me today for a special message from God's Word. Our text today is found in the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 24 to 28. I'm excited to share this message with you, and I believe it'll be a blessing to you. Why don't you take a minute, pause the video, read this text, John chapter 20, verses 24 to 28. We're going to see what we can learn from Thomas today. Hey, don't you love those times in life? Times that some people would call times of consolation. Times when God is so close. You can feel His presence. You are just full of faith. You feel so confident. Old-timers used to say, I feel so filled with the Spirit of God, I'm willing to charge into hell with a water pistol. You know, times when you're worshiping with others, times in your life when God is answering your prayers, miracles are taking place. Oh, we love the mountaintop experiences in our faith journey. And we should. And we should enjoy those times when God is blessing and we feel His presence. Times of consolation. But then there are those other times we might call desolation, when no one else is around, when you're all by yourself and you feel all alone. When God is not close, you do not feel His presence, and your faith is lacking, your faith is weak. You have no confidence, and you begin to doubt and have questions about your faith. And it's a scary feeling. Sometimes you want to ask questions, but you're afraid to ask. You think, what if I'm the only one? Will I look silly? Will I look foolish? Will people think I don't have faith? Did you know that people actually leave the church, not because God isn't good, but because they have questions, and they don't feel safe in asking those questions in the church? Folks, we all have doubts. We all have questions, don't we? And what is it that causes doubt in our lives? Well, doubt comes when we have questions we can't answer. When we face situations that seem unfair. When we experience pain and hurt that we cannot resolve. But I want you to know the Bible does not shy away from the issue of doubt. The book of Job is a long treatise on questioning, where is God in all of my pain and in my suffering? The books of Ecclesiastes and Lamentations, the prophet Habakkuk, these books are full of questions dealing with the issue of doubt. And then, of course, we have the Psalms. The Psalms are so honest and open, and the writer was transparent. God, where are you? Why is this happening in my life? I like what Philip Yancey said. He said, there is not a single argument against God from the older atheist, Russell, Voltaire, Hume, or the newer ones, Dawkins, Hitchens, and Harris, that are not already included in the Psalms, Job, Habakkuk, and Lamentations. He says, I have respect for a God who not only gives us freedom to reject Him, but also includes arguments against Him in the Bible itself. God, he says, seems rather doubt-tolerant, actually. Oh, my friends, as we look at our text today, I want to make a couple of observations and then applications. I want to try and rehabilitate the reputation of Thomas. We call him Doubting Thomas. I think we can build a case that Thomas got a bad rap. Unfair, I believe, to label him as Doubting Thomas. And so let's look at our text. The first thing we're going to see is the request of Thomas in verses 24 and 25. Now, for whatever reason, Thomas was not with the disciples the first time Jesus appeared to them after His resurrection. So once they had seen the Lord, they told Thomas about it. They were all excited. But Thomas had questions. I would say legitimate questions. He had seen Jesus die. He knew they had buried Him. They had sealed the tomb. And He had been gone for 2 days. I mean, people don't just rise from the dead every other day. Thomas not only had questions, he had legitimate reasons to doubt and question the resurrection of Christ. And here's the thing, Thomas was not the only one to doubt the resurrection. Think about it. Who was it that saw Jesus first on that resurrection Sunday morning? It was Mary and the other ladies. And what happened when they went back and told the other disciples that Jesus was gone, that he had risen? They didn't believe him. No one labeled them the doubting disciples. So Thomas wasn't the only one that had legitimate questions. In our text, Thomas says, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." And so because of that, we label him Doubting Thomas. Dr. James Bryant Smith says this. He said, "Thomas is not obstinate in his doubts. He's working out his doubts." Thomas is simply saying, I need some evidence. I want to see him. I want to touch him. If I can see him again and touch him again, then I will believe. Oswald Chambers puts it this way. He said, the strongest faith isn't a faith that never doubts. The strongest faith is a faith that grows through its doubts. That's powerful, my friend. So we see Thomas' request. He has questions. He has doubts. I think we all would have. But then we see the compassion of Jesus. In verses 26 to 28, Jesus shows up for a second time to the disciples, and this time Thomas is there. Jesus simply appears in the room and he says to them, "Peace be with you." And then he goes right to Thomas. And what does he do? He says, "Thomas, put your finger here. See my hands? Reach out your hand and put it in my side. Stop doubting, Thomas, and believe." Jesus gave Thomas exactly what he had asked for, to see his hands and to see his feet. Jesus was not angry. He wasn't frustrated. He wasn't disappointed in Thomas. Jesus was compassionate. He was caring and kind, and he was responsive to Thomas and to what Thomas needed. It's obvious from this story. Honest doubt is not something Jesus condemns. Honest doubt is something Jesus honors. And because of the compassion and kindness of Jesus towards Thomas, Thomas gives us this full-on confession of faith. He just declares, "My Lord and my God." Did you know Thomas was the first human being to call Jesus God? Thomas went from being uncertain to this bold declaration of faith. Once Thomas saw Jesus, he had a bold faith and a bold belief in Christ. Now let me make a couple of observations, applications if you will, about this issue of doubt and how we see in Thomas's life and how he worked through it. Thomas had a stronger faith, not because he had no doubt. Thomas had a stronger faith because he acknowledged his doubt and he worked through it. My friend, faith does not have to be perfect to be faith. By its very nature, faith is tried and tested. And I'm going to tell you, you won't pass every test. But the process of working through your trials, through your tests, through your tribulations, the process of working out your salvation, that is the very thing that strengthens and matures your faith into a strong and bold faith. In the same sense that we give Thomas a bad rap, calling him Doubting Thomas, we do the same kind of thing with Peter and his faith. Because he got out of the boat and he sank, we say that Peter had weak faith. Hey, at least Peter got out of the boat. Peter walked on the water. No one else did that. My friend, don't let the devil defeat you because you have doubts and questions. But take your doubts, take your fears, take your questions to Jesus. Call out to him. Oswald Chambers said, "Doubt is not a sign that a person is wrong. It may be a sign that they are thinking." I like that. You see, doubt forces you to make your faith truly yours. It's in the fiery furnace of life that your faith and my faith is truly purged and purified. You always need to think through what you have easily believed. For your position is not really yours until you make it yours through suffering and study. It's as we go through the trials and the test of life that our theology truly becomes real to us. Doubt, uncertainty, a lack of knowledge, that's all necessary for our faith to grow. For it's through the questioning and the searching that we can arrive at a faith that is truly ours and that cannot be taken away from us. I heard recently of Reverend Justin Weirby. He was the Archbishop of Canterbury. He was like the Pope of the Anglican Church. He said at one time, at times I wonder if God is really there. Well, this caused quite a stir, and there were several atheists who heard of this, and they came out and they just lambasted him. But what you need to realize is the context of what he had been through and what he was working through when he made that statement. He had a 7-month-old little baby who had been killed in a terrible automobile accident. And in the midst of his grief and sorrow, working through all of the emotions of that, he was honest enough to make a statement like the one he made. The good news, my friend, he did not deny God or turn away from the faith. Rather, he grew stronger because of all that he went through. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever laid the body of someone you love dearly in the grave? I mean, you have literally put them into a box and lowered them into the ground, and they've thrown dirt on top of them and covered them up. That is when your faith in the resurrection, your faith in the second coming of Jesus Christ is tested. It's what I felt last week as we buried my mother. And as we did that, I thought to myself, I sure hope this is all real. I shared that with my brother, that the feelings and the thoughts that I had, and he said he had felt a very similar thing. What is that? What is going on when we have thoughts like that? I sure hope this Christianity thing is real. I'll tell you what it is. It's our faith being tested. And at times we question and we doubt. Can we be honest enough to admit it? I say yes. For the God in whom we put our trust is faithful. And he will carry you through, my friend. Faith is not the absence of doubt. Faith is the means to get us through our doubt. Do you remember that very old but very special and powerful poem that was entitled Footprints in the Sand? Let me share it with you as I close. One night I dreamed a dream as I was walking along the beach with my Lord. Across the dark sky flashed scenes from my life. For each scene, I noticed 2 sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to me and one to my Lord. After the last scene of my life flashed before me, I looked back at the footprints in the sand, and I noticed that at many times along the path of my life, especially at the very lowest and saddest times, there was only 1 set of footprints. This really troubled me, so I asked the Lord about it. Lord, you said once I decided to follow you, you'd walk with me all the way. But I noticed that during the saddest and most troublesome times of my life, there was only 1 set of footprints. I don't understand it. Why, when I needed you the most, you would leave me? And he whispered to me, oh, my precious child, I love you, and I will never leave you. Never, ever. During your trials and testings, I will always be there. When you saw only 1 set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. Oh, my friends, I firmly believe that if we are honest, each one of us can relate to Thomas. We all have questions and doubts and fears at times in our lives, but that's a part of life. The key is to allow your doubts and your questions to drive you to Jesus, Take your doubts, take your questions, and all your fears. Take them to the Lord, for He is filled with love and compassion for you. And He will give you, just as He did Thomas, exactly what you need. And you can declare, my Lord and my God. May God bless you.